Hello, my name is Andy Weinstein, a CEO and founder of Godot, host of What Are You Waiting For, a podcast by Godot. Today we have a very special guest. We have Hee Jung, CEO of SK Chemicals Americas, and we want to learn more about who he is and basically what motivates him to do the things that he does. So Hee, why don't you give us a quick introduction of who you are?
Hello, thank you very much for having me, and I really do look forward to sharing more of my stories. As Andy introduced myself, my name is Hee. I do have a longer first name, which is Korean first name, Hee Suk, but a lot of people call me Hee Suk, and I don't suck, so I just go by Hee. And I've been with SK for about 18, 19 years. I've been into different SK companies. And now I am the CEO of SK Chemicals America, meaning I am in charge of all the operations going on for SK Chemicals in North and South America, and also looking into Europe expansion and also spitting out new technologies out of our lab. Plus, I wear multiple hats within SK. I am also the head of innovation and investment for the sub-holding company called SK Discovery, because SK has about 185 affiliates under SK. And because we've got too many operating companies, we have number of holding companies to manage them. And my head of investment role is under the holding company level so that I have access into different operating companies. And we look into investments in energy, chemicals, property tech, and bioscience. So I wear those two multiple hats, and I travel every week to visit each of the offices in Silicon Valley, Irvine, and time to time in Houston. And I'm spending a lot of my time in the air, and I'm very grateful to be here. Thanks, Andy.
No, thank you. Key, let's talk a little bit more about where did you come from? Where were you born? And how did your early life kind of craft you to get into this opportunity where you're running America's for SK, and then also the investment and innovation arm? Where did young He come from?
Great question. Well, by the time you reach my age, I am 47 this year. You don't really think about where you come from in your young age, but I think this is a great opportunity for me to retrace my memories. I was born in Korea in 1979, and I was in Korea just going through my elementary, middle school. And it's a story that I don't really share with a lot of people, but I'll be just very open today. When I was in 10th grade, I must have done something terribly wrong. My father asked me and my younger brother to come out to the living room, and he wanted to say something. And he said, "Hey, sons, go and pack." And it was in the middle of the semester, first semester of 10th grade in Korea. And we're like, what are we packing for? We got to go to school tomorrow. And he was like, you guys are packing to go to India. And I was like, why India? And he's like, you guys are going for good. You guys are transferring from Korean school to an international school in India. And we were like, my brother started crying, and there was a whole drama. And I was a little bit stunned because, when you get into 10th grade, you're really close to your friends, and you don't want to leave them, and you just have such a great relationship with your friends. And I didn't want to leave that either. And I was playing a lot of sports, so I was in like basketball, judo team, kendo team, and I didn't want to leave my friends. And all of a sudden I had to pack and go to India that I've never been to. So that was the actually young He's journey, starting in India as an international student. And I spoke no English, no Hindi. And what happened was I was given an address and a phone number of the international school's principal and vice principal. And I had to call them and go through all this admission process. I knew nothing about it. And of course, I found out later on after I got there that my younger brother, had the admission. I didn't have the admission because they didn't want to accept me because I was too old to learn new language. And I was given some US dollars to explore my path, and they gave us plane tickets to India. Ever since I was like 9 or 10 years old, they started to train me to travel internationally by ourselves. So the first country that I went with a passport without the escort was going to Japan. And my father had a friend teaching in Tokyo University, and I had the phone number and the address, and I had to go there myself with my younger brother. So that was the first me going to India and learning a lot about international cultures and language, and that got me into professional world of what we are doing and what I'm doing right now.
That's fascinating. So I did not know that story about you. I grew up at a very international experience as well. I went to a French American school in elementary school and would travel to France every summer. And in fact, the first time I traveled alone was when I was 8 years old, and my parents sent me on a plane to France to go to a French government camp. And on the way back, United Airlines lost me. And you can imagine I was always the shortest person in my class, so being like this really tiny 8-year-old with a giant oversized unaccompanied minor tag, and have the same vision of you going through that. Did you have the big orange unaccompanied minor tag as well?
Yes, I did, but I never got lost when I was taking the flights. But I got lost when I arrived in Japan for the first time in my life in the subway. I don't know if you've been to Japan or Korea, but if you go to subways, there are like millions of these color lines going to different destinations. And if you don't know Japanese, it's very easy to get lost. And it happened to me, and I was trying to fight through my way to find the location, but none of them speaks English, and I don't speak good English either. So I had to find a way to communicate in Japanese, and I ended up in the police station. And I didn't cry. My brother was crying, but I didn't cry. And I tried to find my way out because one thing that I remember was my dad's friend was a professor in Tokyo University, and I was trying to find Tokyo University, and somehow I find my dad's friend. That was my thinking process, and I found my way out about after 3 hours of walking with the police in Japan.
I think that's also kind of testament to the role that police play in Japan, but that's a whole nother story. So when you went to India and you said you were an exchange student, you were how old?
Back then, I was 15. 15, yes. I was 15 when I went to India as an international school, not an exchange school. And it was a boarding school. So
Oh,
this school was built in 1824 by British when they were ruling India, and they needed to build a school for their missionary workers and people who's working out of India, and they hid the school inside the Himalayas. So it's way up in the mountains, and it takes about 7 to 8 hours from New Delhi all the way to the school, and which involves multiple different methods of transportation. And when you go there, it's all distributed like locations where the dorms are in one corner and the school classes are in one corner. So you had to walk to different locations. And it's an amazing school. But back then when I was young, it was very hard walking up and down, actually.
yeah, I can imagine. I was an exchange student in high school as well, but not at boarding school as an exchange student. When I was 15 as well, and went to live in Argentina during the economic crisis, and that was one of these big moments of my life that really transformed who I am.
Hmm.
How did being Korean dropped off in the middle of the Himalayan parts of India affect you? And where did you go from there? Did you go straight to college? Do you have military service? Kind of what happened at the high
Sure.
school and then afterward?
Sure. So, just long story short, when I first arrived in India, I was very scared, and I had to, like I said in the beginning, I was not admitted to the school yet. So I still remember it was back in 1994 in September. I went to India, and they had to put me through multiple tests before they accept me. And I still remember the expression like, Jesus, your father still sent you, was the reaction from the vice principal, because you are not admitted to the school, just your younger brother is. And I had to find my tutors, and I was actually didn't know how to study English. So I was just memorizing all the English contents in newspapers. That's how I self-taught my English. I went through maybe 8 or 9 different tests, which involved like English, math, reading, comprehension. Math, I aced it. It was easy for me, but for English tests, I failed multiple times, and it took me about 3.5 months to get the admission from school. And of course, after I got into the school, it was a whole another battle that started because it's a boarding school. You have to turn your lights off. Even though I was at the age of going into 11th grade, I had to go to ninth grade instead because of my English. And for ninth graders, you have to turn your lights off by 9:15. And you only get to study maybe 1.5 hours to 2 hours before you go to sleep. And there was no way for me to finish all my homework in 2 hours because it took me forever to read one page. And I had my thick dictionaries, and I wouldn't go through all the details, but I had to fight through to find myself a space to study overnight. And the only place that I found was to study was bathroom. That was the only place that I could study overnight. So I would wait about an hour to two until the dorm parents go to sleep. Then I would sneak out and go to bathroom and start studying. So I continued there for about a few years, and after that, I decided to come to US for college education, and I got admitted to a lot of schools that people know, but I decided to go to Indiana University because I thought I was meant to go to Indiana from India. So I was still very young, and I I still regret. I mean, Indiana University was a fantastic school. I loved it. I loved all my friends I met there, but I had the other options. I wouldn't share that here, but I had much more renowned options, but I had to turn it down because of the name connection.
What, so
And
you had to become a Hoosier because Indiana included the word India in it. That's kind of
yes,
amazing.
yes, yes. And uh, go ahead.
Yeah, and so you get to Indiana and you're not even at the engineering powerhouse that is Purdue. You're at the other school.
Yes, yes, that's right.
So, so what did you study at Indiana? And then yeah, and did you do any time abroad while you were in college?
Actually, I just stayed in US. I majored in business. I went to Kelly School of Business, and I majored in operations management, and I minored in and also majored in business process management. I wanted to be a consultant. So those are the two majors that I did, and I minored in math. And I graduated in 3.5 years. I was very eager to catch up with the years that I lost in high school. So I wanted to rush it through university to buy some time. And after I graduated from college, also wanted to be a hotel manager. So I started working at a small hotel in Indiana, and they were supporting me to go to master's. And I studied my master's in same Kelly School of Business, but I always had the desire to go back to Korea and serve as a soldier in military service because my grandfather from mom's side, he was the first Navy general in Korea. So he was the one who really created the Korean Navy. And I didn't want to avoid Korean military by just staying abroad. So that's when I made the decision to go back to Korea and serve as a soldier. And back then, my younger brother was in Switzerland working. And I asked him also to come to Korea to serve as a military. And that's when we went back to Korea after maybe almost 10 years of life in India and US. And I ended up going to Iraq. I worked with US when there was Iraq war back in 2004, 3, 4. So that's when I was in the military.
So you went to Iraq, and it's funny that most people assume that the war in Iraq was only Americans, but you went as on behalf of South Korean art military. Were you kind of in any gunfire or any scenario like that, or were you kind of in a protected zone where you were working?
Sure. So basically, as a one of the coalition force, it's not just U.S., but I met with all other soldiers from Australia, Japan, Latvia, from UK, and there were a lot of militaries coming from different countries as part of the coalition force. Where we were, we get to stay there for 6 months, but I was there for 7 months because you're always stuck in a small container and it's not very good for people's mental health to stay in Iraq for too long. So we had the 6 to 7 month period to stay out of Iraq. And where we were was very protected. But whenever we go out for different missions, that's when you start to receive gunfires. But it's okay if we just move between Korean army, but if we start to move with U.S. Army, then that's when we get gunfired at. And every quarter we have a coalition force meeting. Back then it was General Casey. He was the lead of the whole coalition force from U.S. And that meeting was being held in Hussein Palace. And to be able to go there, you have to take C-130. And once you land, you have to take the chopper into the palace, and then nearby you can also drive in, and that's the kind of more dangerous area. And I don't know how much I can share, so I will be very careful. But I've been to Hussein Palace, and I can see how corrupted and spoiled he was, and he has so much wealth when his citizens were dying from poverty. Yeah, have seen some terrible scenes. I've seen a lot of terrible pictures, but I was not really involved in those gunfights. But I did lose three friends who worked very closely with us within Korean compounds from US.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. The experience sounds um, intense. When did you get connected with SK, and what got you onto that path? So you go from boarding school in India, college and business school in a little time in Iraq, since that's, who doesn't include that on their holiday trip. And you go back to Korea. When did you start to build up a passion for where you are today? Did you have any aha moments on these travels, on these expeditions, as you've gone through the world through a very unique lens? What made you want to get into large scale innovation and investment?
Great question. Aha moments. So after the military service, of course, I was discharged from Korea. And after that, I had a chance to stay in Korea. That's when I started having some interviews with Korea, but I always had a plan to come back to US. But my dad was asking me to explore more opportunities and experience a little bit more in Korea and see how you can contribute back to society. So that's when I started looking for different opportunities. But my dad also had a lot of businesses in Asia. Like we lived out of Indonesia, Japan, Singapore, and he also had a major business in India because we went to school there. And also he had a big business in Hong Kong. And he asked me if I could help him in Hong Kong. And I lived in Hong Kong for about a year, helping him with his work. And I told him like I should now go back to US. And he told me, why don't you go back to Korea and maybe look for more opportunities? And I was like, okay, then I'll just give it a try. And that's when I started working for SK. I had a lot of drama in between, but I won't go through too much details. But the result is I ended up going to SK, and it's been 18, 19 years since then. And after I started working in SK for about 1 or 2 years, all of a sudden, my father was traveling between Hong Kong, Africa, and he was doing a lot of imports and exports. And when he visited Korea, he said his back was hurting, so we went to uh, orthopedics, and um, we discovered that he had a cancer. And it was devastating because I just started working in professional world and I didn't really show him what he was able to contribute to and how I can really serve him as a father with more, wealthy and, more comfortable life. He passed away in about 2 weeks' time after we discovered that it was a cancer. I
Oh,
couldn't really
wow.
do much. He was 59, I was 29, and I didn't know what to do. I was really breaking down. And I think, Andy, that was my aha moment because I had a time to think about life and death because no matter how hard and how wealthy or how good you are, if it comes to death, it doesn't really matter. So then I thought about now I'm going to make a decision. If it's not a matter of life or death, then I should just be kind. I should just be more sacrificing and devoting and just be more kind to people and to those friends that I haven't met. So I think that was the aha moment. I should really bet my life on something that I can do better for my kids, for my children, and also for my successors and give a better earth and better environment and just better things after all. And I think that was my aha moment. Yep.
It's fascinating. As I've had multiple conversations, I've started to realize my aha moments have also been actually at the intersection of life and death. For me, I was actually in Hawaii, and we had the nuclear missile scare from North Korea, and it was one of those moments where you're sitting down and you're told you're gonna die in 8 minutes, right? And then you're counting down 8 minutes. And then every second after that 8 minutes, you're counting down as if it's going to be your last. And then once it finally cleared, you have this sense of real, almost like resolve, but at the same sense, you realize your vision of the world has pivoted dramatically because you've had that close experience. And it sounds like that was kind of your experience of seeing your father discover him having cancer and then 2 weeks later passing away. You were at SK at that time when that happened, right?
That is correct. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. But when it comes to a big event like that, I think you really think about that life and death. And yeah, it was the same case for me after my dad's passing. And I was working in SK. And right after he passed away, I got married and I got sent over to Houston as the head of procurement. And I was able to take time away from Korea because I was really panicking after my dad passed away. And it was a great opportunity for me to learn new things and be able to lead a team from Houston. And I was one of the very first members to establish SK office in Houston back in 2010. So it was a great experience, but also it was a great comfort for me to stay away from Korea and be in new environment and focus on new things.
Yeah. The discovery of a new environment helped you distract from kind of the pain of your your family and the passing. Um, in Houston, kind of as you saw, let's say, Houston and California have different energies. And I'm going to do a slight pivot to something a little bit more exciting. How would you describe the differences of working in California, where we are today, and working in Houston, and also representing a Korean company in those places?
Oh, that's a very good question, but very difficult question. So let me say I love both cities, both states, and I love my friends and coworkers in both locations. But are they different? Yes, they are very different. When I was in Houston, I was working for energy industry. So we were trying to build more plants and we were trying to buy energy from US to export to Korea. And I was in a different field and also building plants in engineering and construction company. So I was the head of procurement. And when I was in Houston, I guess everything was a lot more direct. And we knew what we were talking about. And about 70% of the oil-related companies or money comes and goes through Houston. So when you are in Houston, you can really watch the market and see and be able to meet with the people in that industry. And really, like everything focused in energy seemed like it was in Houston. And a lot of the vendors were in Texas, and NASA was in Houston, and so a lot of those energy related and also like, building new stuff, building plants was there. But working in California for the past about a decade, it was really mixture of different industries, different people, and really synergy from this mixture. And this is really the attractiveness of this California being able to mingle between different expertise and experiences. So I would say both of them have different attractions and convictions and also experiences, and very different, but both very appealing and fantastic.
Well, that was a beautifully political answer. I think what
I tried.
I, I think what you're really hitting on is Houston is a mile deep in a single industry, and Silicon Valley is a mile wide across all industries. And there is almost completely different languages that come from that as well. And you also have different personalities in that space. And so when you think about your teams and the people that you're trying to motivate either in Houston or in California, what have been some examples of internal innovation that you have brought to the table that have really kicked off and caught fire with your team?
Great question. Thank you, Andy. Also, very difficult question because for Houston and Irvine here, it's more towards operations. The work that we are doing from Irvine and Houston are operation related. And from Silicon Valley, my teams are looking into innovative work. So what I try to do, my messages are tailored a little bit different in those teams. For Irvine and Houston, who are more in the operations world, I keep asking them to be more innovative. I keep asking them for room for improvements and try to think outside of the box. And that's the drive and that's the momentum that I'm trying to create in these operations teams. On the other hand, in Silicon Valley, they are always living in this fast-paced, innovative world, meeting with these great founders and CEOs and learning about new technology. So I keep asking them for the operation improvement. Hey guys, we are being very innovative. We are looking at the new things, but often you guys are only looking at what you want to look at. We also have to look at the operations and see how we can connect with the new technology and the reality. And what is the difference between these two, and make sure that this is going to work in reality, looking at the regulations and policies, market, competitors, and see if it's going to be adaptable to business and look for more improvements in the operations. So you can see that my messages are a little bit different in towards the different teams.
Yeah, so basically you're telling the innovative team in Silicon Valley to be more operational and the operational team in in Houston to be more innovative, right? And
That's correct.
and you're have you done almost like an exchange program for people in Houston to move to California and California to move to Houston to kind of almost mix up those teams to get those operational people in an innovative environment and innovative people in an operational environment?
Oh, that's a great question. We actually launched a Silicon Valley internship program. So I've sent my team member from Silicon Valley over to Houston, and I've actually expanded that range not just to Houston or Irvine, but to headquarter in Korea. So people can come and spend maybe 3 months of their time and experience different things. So that's a great question. I'm trying to expose our successors into different environments and have them experience different types of work and how the work environments are different and how they can really open up a conversation and be able to manage different types of work. So yes, we are doing that kind of a program.
Right. It reminds me of the program that GE used to do where they would send their executives to work at different divisions so that every one of those executives could learn at least something of that other division, whether it provides them greater context or greater perspective to evaluate problems because they're no longer looking from a single lens but from a diverse lens.
Yeah, yeah,
On some of the kind of similar things is how do you innovate and how do you lead all of these different teams across, as you mentioned, SK is a huge company and many people in the United States do not know what SK is. So first, can you give a quick description of what SK is? And then the next piece would be how do you convey your leadership across divisions in which you're not in the room?
great. First of all, SK is a company from Korea. It doesn't stand for South Korea. Original company name used to be Sunkyung. And we took the first letters of each word and we made it into SK. And I believe that the meaning of Sunkyung is the silence of dawn kind of thing. And SK doesn't really make much consumer products, so we are not very known to public like our competitors like Samsung, Hyundai, LG. But SK is the second largest company in Korea, and we make a lot of products and services that's supporting the economy from behind the scenes. So we are the largest energy company in Korea. We do a lot of semiconductor business where like NVIDIA uses our chips for their GPUs. We are into batteries, telecommunication, where about 49 to 50% of the Korean population uses SK Telecom for their cell phones, broadbands, and also bioscience, where we make medicines and vaccines and chemicals. And so we're into various businesses from SK. And coming back to the leadership question, I try to listen to my team members and all the time. That's the first thing that I do. And I really try to find the pain points. And when we speak to different teams, you got to know your surroundings. Of course, the first thing is let's put the things into frame. How is the regulation working? How is the market working? How is the competitors working? And we got to know all the factors and put that into the frame and come up with the key questions. And are we really trying to find the things that we need to do for success, or are we going down the road where we're going to eventually face the failure? And that really comes from the good fact findings and trying to find more information from interviews from different people. And once we know what we want to try to achieve, and I think that's the key studies and planning sessions that I do with my teams before we initiate any projects. And something that I always look out for is what are the risks? And if we do not know the risk, that means we haven't done much study or we didn't do enough study. And if we know the risk, and if the risk is like, we can come up with a mitigation plan for those risks, then that's something that I will pursue after. But if we don't really know what the risks are and how the outcomes are going to come out, and not having the scenarios of those each cases, I will not proceed. So those are the key drives that I do with the different teams.
So if you were to describe your leadership style or, motive, what would it be? How would you want other people to say he is X type of leader?
Wow. Okay. I haven't thought of that. Maybe I should ask my employees, but they're only going to say good things. And I don't think that's true. I don't know if I can define it in one word, but what I want to be is I want to be a enabling leader, meaning I want to enable their capabilities and their potentials. And I want them to be happy. So I want to enable their happiness. So instead of being a chief executive officer, I want to be a chief enabling officer and really try to drive their motivations. Yes, yes, yeah, for SK. And basically, I don't think SK will be their final destination or their final job. So I want them to learn what they need to learn from this job and move on and be a better person. So I try to enable things that they have in them that I haven't been able to expose. And I think that's the key message that that's my key style of leadership. And I, of course, use different tactics, but my style will be that enabling culture.
And that enabling culture, right? That is something that you've probably learned over your life. These opportunities that helped shape me, put me into this position to succeed. And now I want to share that upside with other people in the team. Imagine being able to go to your future self or your previous self. What would you say to yourself to put yourself in a better position going forward?
Wow, I don't know how you come up with these questions, but these questions are fantastic. I've never been asked this before. What would I say to previous or future myself? I guess I have been trying to act as if I'm smart or as if I'm not sad. I am not smart or I am not as intelligent as most of the CEOs that I speak to. And it's okay to not know some things. So I want to tell myself in the previous myself, that it's okay to not know some things. And don't be afraid to ask questions. And you don't have to tire yourself to pretend that you are something that you are not. So I would rather say that to myself so that I'll be happier whatever I was doing back then and whatever I will be doing in the future, that I am more truthful and I'm more honest and with the integrity to surroundings of myself. And I think that's the courage that I'm building as I age. So that's what I want to say. It's okay to not know some things and it's okay to be sad.
That's important because one of the things that I learned a while ago is as you're growing up within a company or within a network, you always want to put your best foot forward. And sometimes you stretch in what you know to put your best foot forward. And I think one of the things that's been really useful for me as I've entered this new, essentially, energy space is I don't need to pretend that I have an engineering background or I understand this. I get to play dumb and I get to bring in experts to help validate or invalidate kind of some of my own hypotheses. And I think a lot of times we grow up in environments where it's the fake it till you make it versus learn it until you earn it, I guess might be a
Yeah,
better frame,
yeah,
right? Like you just have to learn and take in feedback from other people. Well, we are coming up onto the harder questions. Do you first, before I ask you the hardest question, do you have anything that you want to articulate or talk about in particular today?
Nothing really comes to my mind, but as you and I are in the similar industry, I really hope that all these companies and work that we do are going to be very fruitful for the earth care. And I really hope that we are all doing the right thing for the environment. Yeah, that's something that I really want to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to create business models that uplift and create a better environment for the world and not a dollar today at the expense of $2 tomorrow. Has been the model for a long time, and I think we need to change that. And I think you and I have spoken at length about kind of our alignment on values and the role of values in leadership. While we didn't really talk a lot about that today, that is something that we have talked about before.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe let's do just a quick thing on why is SK's brand bring happiness?
If you look at the logo of our company, it's a butterfly, and we call that butterfly Wings of Happiness. And the owner family and all the management is really geared towards making sure that everybody working in SK is happy and the family members of SK are happy, and also the investors and stakeholders of SK are happy. And to make sure that we have this happiness, we got to do the right thing. So for the past 40, 50 years, SK has been focused in doing things the right way, but now we want to do the right thing by spending more money into earth care programs, shifting away from fossil fuel oriented business into clean energy, green chemicals, and also looking at the people care and health care, and really looking after the human and also for the communities. So I think the whole company mission and vision has geared towards maintaining this, creating more happiness and maintaining the happiness for everybody involved and try to create a better world. I know it sounds very cheesy and everybody says that, but one of the hope that I have is like the title of your podcast is "What Are You Waiting For?" I'm waiting for a moment when companies cannot do greenwashing anymore. That government or
Thank
some sort of
you.
agency will be able to catch everything that people say that are greenwashing and be able to give them penalties. So, but we are really committed to meet those plans, and I believe that SK will be able to achieve those targets.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that I was going to ask you. The next question is what are you waiting for? But what it sounds like is similar to actually the conversation we had with Dr. Bray, was basically the role of government and the role of companies working together to make the world a better place, and understanding that the role of government is to handle essentially the inefficiencies between macroeconomics and microeconomics. And I think we are at this unique inflection point in history where the companies that are doing the right thing will actually win in the long run because they've earned that reputation versus the people that do greenwashing will earn a reputation of cutting corners and producing bad products. I think we're there. But I'm going to ask you one more time. What are you waiting for if there's another answer?
Apart from that greenwashing piece, I'm waiting for my kids to go to college and be on their own. But also, I'm waiting for myself to age a little more. The reason why I say that is I am still considered young in the professional world, and there's so much more that I need to learn. And I want to age in a right way that I am gaining the right experience and be able to mentor and teach my successors and pass along the good foundation. So I'm waiting for the moment for me to be able to do that with more knowledge and wisdom and experience to be able to pass on the good knowledge back to my successors and I'm waiting for that moment with the right age, right experience. So I think that's another thing that I'm waiting for. I know I'm still young and I still have a lot to learn, and I want to be at the age when I can contribute more to different people by being able to say with a confidence, with the experience, with a proven record that, hey, this is what I learned and you should take that.
Interesting that you say age. Why age? Because I would say age is, not to use another cliche, but age is just a number. And I've found many times people throw around age as a way not to learn new things. But you're saying I want to use age as a way to learn new things and essentially earn the reputation for delivering solutions. Is that
Yes, yes, that point is very valid, and I'm sure it doesn't apply to everybody because when you are here in Silicon Valley, you meet with these fascinating people who already have so much more knowledge and experience at the half of my age. But what I learned over the years, I was in India, I lived in various different countries, and I was in Iraq, I worked out of Houston, Canada, and now here in California, traveling all over the world. Things take time. When something needs to be more ripe and more fruitful, things take time. And I started to respect the timing a little bit more. And that's why I say age, because at different age, at different occasions come and different opportunities come for you to learn new stuff. And that's how you strengthen your points and your experience. And I learned that it just takes time. So that's why I said age, because I want to be able to talk to different people at different age, and going forward, I'll have more opportunities for those kind of occasions. And I think I just need a little bit more time.
okay? Well, that sounds great. I just want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, He. This has been great. I am going to sign off. I think this was been very enlightening. We've been friends for a while now, and I feel like every single time we talk, I learn way more than I did the last time. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Andy.
Thank you. This has been another episode of What Are You Waiting For? A podcast by Godot. I am your host, Andy Weinstein, CEO and founder of Godot. Thank you very much.